Assalamualaikum and greetings. Today we are going to talk about copper to sulfate for medicine and how it is used. Before we start, I'm going to introduce our team. We have Xuie, Nazihah, Afriza, and Husniyah. Here are our contents. So let's start. What is copper to sulfate? Copper to sulfate, also known as blue vitriol, Salzburg vitriol, Roman vitriol, blue copperized, or bluestone, is a chemical compound composed of copper, sulfur, and oxygen whose formula is CuSO4. Copper to sulfate is an odorless crystalline substance and electric blue in color. The toxicity of copper to sulfate depends on the copper content. It is produced industrially by treating copper metal with hot concentrated sulfuric acid or its oxides with dilute sulfuric acid. The properties of copper to sulfate. The physical properties. The color is reddish brown or red-orange metallic luster, fairly soft and ductile, excellent conductivity of electricity and heat. Melting point is 1083 degrees Celsius, the boiling point is 2595 degrees Celsius, and the density is 8.96 grams over centimeter cubic. The chemical properties. It is highly soluble. The chemical compound is CuSO4, and the copper dissolved in almost all acids, alkaline since it's a considerably active metal. In moist air, it can react with oxygen from air and carbon dioxide. This reaction forms hydrated copper carbonate. So how copper sulfate is made? There are two ways of making copper to sulfate. By heating copper scrap with sulfur to produce copper sulfide, which is then oxidized to form copper sulfate. By heating copper sulfide orange to produce copper oxide, which is then treated with sulfuric acid to form copper sulfate. By slowly leaching in air of pulse of low-grade ore, bacterial action is sometimes employed to hasten the process. A solution of copper sulfate drains away from such heaps. So next, what is medicine?
So medicine is the science or practice of the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of disease. Next, we are going to talk about our main topic, which is how is copper to sulfate used in medicine. We are going to divide this into three, which is plants, human, and animals. I'm going to present about plants. Xuie is going to talk about humans, and Afriza is going to talk about animals. Next. So the first use of copper to sulfate in plants is to manufacture fungicides. A mixture of copper sulfate and calcium hydroxide, or known as Bordeaux mixture, is the most widely used as fungicides to treat fungal disease like powdery mildew, downy mildew, and black spot diseases in fruit plants or ornamental plants. Mildew can cause leaf spots and plant spoilage. By spraying the freshly prepared mixture directly onto the plant, the copper sulfate will bind into the protein of the fungus, damaging the cells and causing them to die. So the first picture is an example of Bordeaux mixture, and the second picture is an example of mildew disease. Next. So the second use of copper to sulfate is to manufacture insecticides, for example, copper arsenide and periscreen. Periscreen is used against mosquito larvae, which then can help in preventing the spread of malaria. Lastly, copper to sulfate is used as an algicide. Copper sulfate is toxic to bacteria. Therefore, copper sulfate solution is added into ponds or swimming pools to clear the water and destroy the algae that grow on the surface of water. Next. So this video will show how copper to sulfate solution is used to eliminate algae in pond. So next, can we have Xuie to talk about the use of copper to sulfate in human medicine?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Nazihah. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to present about the uses of copper sulfate as medicine in humans. First of all, copper sulfate is used to screen for anemia in rural places. This method is called the copper sulfate specific gravity method, where blood is tested by dropping it into copper sulfate solution, blood which contains sufficient hemoglobin sinks rapidly due to its density, whereas blood which does not contain sufficient hemoglobin does not sink or sinks slowly. This method is well liked for three reasons. First, it is cost beneficial compared to other laboratory methods. Second, it does not require maintenance. And thirdly, it is easy to be used. The second use of copper sulfate as medicine in humans is to treat tinea pedis, layman term athlete's foot. It is a fungal skin infection commonly caused by sweaty feet confined in tight-fitting shoes. The main point is here. Tinea pedis spreads through contact with infected skin scales or contact with fungi in damp areas such as showers, locker rooms, and swimming pools. Hence, copper sulfate acts as an antifungal. It is used in the flooring mixture of swimming baths to inhibit fungi and reduce athlete's foot. On to our third use of copper sulfate as medicine in humans. Copper sulfate is used as a molluscicide to control Bilharzia disease. Bilharzia, also known as schistosomiasis, is caused by a parasite that lives in freshwater snails. Humans can be easily infected if their skin comes in contact with contaminated freshwater. Think about it. It's quite scary as the parasite will burrow in our skin, enter our bloodstream, and lay eggs in our body. By using copper sulfate as a molluscicide, we kill the freshwater snails and control the spread of Bilharzia disease. The concept is no freshwater snails, no Bilharzia disease. Fiza, do you know the uses of copper sulfates as medicine in animals? Do you mind explaining it to us?
Thank you, Xuie. Firstly, copper sulfate can be used to treat it, as well known as white skin disease in fish. It is a common term for the parasite Ichthyophthirus multifilius, like in the pictures, and the disease caused by it. So this parasite basically has the potential to kill a large number of fish in a short amount of time. How to identify? Fish with it may have white specks on their skin as if they were sprinkled with salt. Next, they have a huge amount of markers sloughing off their skin, giving them a fungus-like appearance. Copper sulfate is the most affordable chemical available for treating it and does not pose the risk of inadvertently inhaling toxic fumes. Copper sulfate also is a long-term treatment and is applied to the water and allowed to remain without subsequent dilution of the treatment. Next, the treatment rate is determined by the total alkalinity concentration of the water being treated. Copper sulfate should be evenly distributed throughout the pond and not typically used in waters with total alkalinity levels less than 40 ppm or greater than 300 ppm. This is because in low alkalinity waters, copper sulfate becomes more toxic to fish, while in high alkalinity waters, the copper may precipitate out of solution and causing the copper sulfate treatment ineffective. Caution is when copper sulfate is added to ponds, it may kill algae blooms, resulting in low oxygen conditions, especially during hot weather. As a result, fish may become stressed or die. So this is one of the example medication called cupramine that can be treat it. And this is the superior to copper sulfate, chloride and citrate. Next. This also other example medication called Fritz aquatic mardicopessive that can treat freshwater and saltwater H2 and is a copper-based treatment consisting of chelated copper sulfate. Furthermore, copper sulfate also can be used to treat hoof disease, thrush in horses. Thrush is an unpleasant infection of the horse frog that is predisposed by moist stem, dirty ground, or stall conditions. Hoof disease can be treated by pitiscool. Pitiscool consists of desitin and copper 2 sulfate powder, then be mixed up together and is loaded up into a monojet syringe to get it deep into the hoof crevices. Furthermore, copper sulfate also can be used in a foot pus solution in cows because it is less irritant and dangerous than formalin. On the dairy farms, foot pus are commonly used to prevent new cases and control chronic cases of costly cow hoof problems caused by infection hoof disease such as digital dermatitis, also known as hairy heel warts. So generally, to make the foot pus solution, chemical was measured into a container and poured into the foot bath, then filled with water and thoroughly mixed. As example, foot putty with a 5% solution can be used to treat and to control digital dermatitis and foot rot. Next, I will pass the speaker to Husniyah. Husniyah, can you explain more how copper 2 sulfate can be used in traditional medicine?
Well, copper 2 sulfate uses in traditional medicine as a cure for warts, toothache relief, toenail fungus, and canker sores. Disclaimer: the use of copper sulfate in these ways are not condoned. They are for historical and entertainment purpose only. Thank you all. We have you understand with our presentation. Here are the references list.